Hello and welcome to another edition of Outreach Radio Chicago. I'm your host, Paul Chivari, filling in for Mike Mercado. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about mentoring programs, specifically Big Brothers Big Sisters, and what they've been doing in metropolitan Chicago. Today on the show, I'm going to have Brad Whitlock, the manager of corporate and foundation relations at Big Brothers Big Sisters Chicago. Brad will tell us today what it would take to become a mentor at Big Brothers Big Sisters Chicago. He will give us more information if you have a child that needs a role model currently in their life and how you can get them with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Metropolitan Chicago. Big Brothers Big Sisters of Metropolitan Chicago is an affiliate of the oldest, most respected mentoring organization in the United States. They're a mission-driven, performance-based organization that is professionally managed and provides high-quality, one-on-one mentoring services to 1,700 of Metro Chicago's most at-risk children and their families across 4 counties. As Metro Chicago and Northwest Indiana's largest donor and volunteer-supported mentoring network, Big Brothers Big Sisters makes meaningful, monitored matches between adult volunteers and children. Their programs are proven to keep kids in school, out of trouble, and on the path to postgraduate success. Big Brothers Big Sisters Metropolitan Chicago is a donor and volunteer-supported organization. Private, corporate, foundation, and individual contributions provide 90% of their revenue, based upon which they build programming that meets the needs of each child individually, whether they come from disadvantaged or single-parent homes, live in foster care, and have been abused or neglected. Their donors and volunteers are vital to carrying out their mission. Together, they will evolve Big Brothers Big Sisters Metropolitan Chicago to impact the futures of more children and the communities in which they live. Over the past 50 years in Chicago, they've served over 20,000 littles. 90% of them say that their big has a positive impact on their lives. 97% of them report no alcohol or drug abuse. 82% of youth served improved in the outcome area of confidence. 74% reported doing better in school because of their big. And 100% of seniors have graduated high school. They have over a century of volunteers, donors, and advocates. It all started in 1904 when a young New York City court clerk named Ernest Coulter was seeing more and more boys come through his courtroom. He recognized that caring adults could help many of these kids stay out of trouble. He set out to find volunteers, and that marked the beginning of the Big Brothers movement. At around the same time, the members of a group called Ladies of Charity were befriending girls who had come through the New York Children's Court. That group would later become Catholic Big Sisters. Both groups continued to work independently until 1977, when Big Brothers Association and Big Sisters International joined forces and became Big Brothers Big Sisters of America. More than 100 years later, Big Brothers Big Sisters remains true to their founders' vision of bringing caring role models into the lives of children. And today, Big Brothers Big Sisters currently operates in all 50 states and in 12 countries around the world. Public-Private Ventures, an independent Philadelphia-based national research organization, looked at over 950 boys and girls from 8 Big Brothers Big Sisters agencies across the country, selected for their large size and geographic diversity. The study, conducted in 1994 and 1995, is widely considered to be foundational to the mentoring field in general and to Big Brothers Big Sisters community-based program in particular. Approximately half of the children were randomly chosen to be matched with a big brother or big sister. The others were assigned to a waiting list. The matched children met their big brothers or big sisters about 3 times a month for an average of 1 year. Researchers surveyed both the matched and unmatched children and their parents on 2 occasions, when they first applied for a big brother or big sister and again 18 months later. Researchers found that after 18 months of spending time with their bigs, the little brothers and little sisters, compared to those children not in their program, were 46% less likely to begin using illegal drugs, 27% less likely to begin using alcohol, 52% less likely to skip school, 37% less likely to skip a class, and 33% less likely to hit someone. They also found that the littles were more confident of their performance in schoolwork and getting along better with their families. According to the study, their one-to-one matches are the driving force behind making an impact on children. A Big Brothers Big Sisters match is carefully administered and held to the strictest standards. Agency staff strives for matches that are not only safe and well-suited to each child's needs, but also harmonious and built to last. The entire matching process, from the initial screening to the final pairing and beyond, is made possible by financial support. Coming up, I'll have Brad Whitlock, manager of corporate and foundation relations for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Metropolitan Chicago. All right, I'm with Brad Whitlock, the manager of corporate and foundation relations with Big Brothers Big Sisters Chicago. Brad, first of all, welcome to the show. And how long have you been with Big Brothers Big Sisters?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Paul. I have been with the organization going on 3 years this October, and I was actually a big brother in the program for a year and a half prior. So obviously a big connection to the organization, being a former big.
And tell me of some of the experiences you've had along the way with the organization, maybe from the time that you were a big to volunteering and working with the organization.
Absolutely. I had always wanted to become a big brother, but I kept thinking about it and then passing or not really going full force into it and going in through the interviews and background checks. And it just hit me one summer reading the news and seeing what's, continually happening in the city of Chicago. And I thought, I just need to jump in and do this program and be a part of it. And it was the best decision I ever made. I was matched with a little brother that lived on the south side of Chicago and just had a great relationship. Big Brothers Big Sisters really taught me all of the things I was maybe nervous about, what happens when certain things get brought up and the rules and all of the different ins and outs and advice from the organization. And from there, it was just, I kind of call it like working out. You can work out for one day, and that you're only going to get one day of results. But when you work out over a year, you really see the change. And that's how I felt with my little brother. Once we got to around that 6th, 7th month time of hanging out and getting ice cream, we had some really deep conversations, and I got to learn, what he was going through. But at the end of the day, it was just one of these organizations where you really are helping a child, and especially in the city of Chicago, just find that success in life and that pathway, and being that adult figure that's not authoritative. It's not a parent, it's not a coach, it's not a teacher. It's someone that they can talk to, and you as that big are listening and giving your advice, and it's really powerful for the mentor and for that child.
Kind of like just a positive influence or an outlet for some of these children that might not have that in their immediate lives or their households.
Absolutely. And what we say and what we see is that every child in Chicago is actually being mentored right now, when you think about it. Everybody has a mentor in their life. The problem is that who is that mentor? Is that the person on the corner selling drugs? Is that the bad influence within the neighborhood? And how do we get those children that don't have that? They look downtown, they look at the Loop, and they see a completely different world. They think that is not attainable. And how do we get them a role model in their life that is a consistent, trustworthy person that can show them that pathway towards success? And I think we as Chicagoans, and we just seeing the news every day, think, what can we do? But everyone can do something for that one individual person. That's what makes Big Brothers Big Sisters so special, and that's why I ended up coming here to work for the organization, because I just felt the connection so strongly.
It's interesting kind of researching for this. I didn't realize that Big Brothers Big Sisters as an organization in the United States has been around for over 100 years. But how long has it been operating out of Chicago, and when did you first hear about it?
Yes, so I always like to say Big Brothers Big Sisters has seen every Cubs World Series. They've been around over 100 plus years here in Chicago since 1967. And it was started with a judge in New York that just saw the juvenile justice system failing, and realized that mentors needed to be in these kids' lives that didn't have father figures or parents. They were orphans. And here in Chicago, we now serve, since 2010, we have our service area in metropolitan Chicago is Cook County, Lake, DuPage, and also Lake County, Indiana. So a large service area, and we're serving over 1,600 youth, which means we have 1,600 volunteers because they're matched one-to-one in those individual mentoring relationships.
Is there kind of like a waiting list to become a little or to become a big? I mean, where does it stand in terms of like the balance of finding matches?
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is that we have several, hundreds of thousands of inquiries of youth that go unmatched. So the need for mentors is as crucial as it ever has been. And we go through a background check system and an interview process to make sure that these volunteers understand the commitment. This is a 1-year minimum commitment. We ask our mentors in our community-based mentoring program. That's more of the traditional program where you would pick up your little brother or little sister at their home and then go grab a bite to eat, go to a museum, a baseball game. You're having that relationship out in the community. We ask people to commit, twice a month minimum of meeting with their little, and max 4 times a month. So it is a commitment, but what you find out once you become a big brother or a big sister is that it's really fun. You're able to explore the city in new ways that you maybe haven't. And when you give these children the opportunity to see the city that they might not see on a normal day or week, it gives them new opportunities, new insight into thinking about what their future is. And just those little conversations, those soft skill conversations that you have, throughout the relationship of your match, is crucial and really important.
And if someone was interested in becoming a mentor, what are some of the steps that they would need to take in order to become a big? And what are you looking for in your bigs that you bring into the organization?
Yes, so we have programs really for anybody. If you don't have a car and you have a set maybe schedule that Tuesdays work best for you, we have programs at certain neighborhood communities and boys and girls clubs that we've partnered with. But we're looking for men and women. Ages range, out of college all the way to senior citizens. It is really the gamut. And we are looking for people that are open, caring, willing to be there for a child and be there consistently. We always try to say that the children in our program maybe have lacked consistency. They might have a parent incarcerated, live in a single-parent household where maybe trips, hangout sessions with parents, fathers or mothers get canceled continually. So consistency is crucial. If you make plans with your little brother or little sister, you have to commit to that because that is the crux of that relationship. But we go through a background system, an interview process, and new mentor training. And as a former big brother myself, I can say without a doubt that the infrastructure at Big Brothers Big Sisters really helps all of our mentors feel comfortable, feel prepared, and really feel confident as they go into the mentoring relationship. It makes the process so easy.
Brad Whitlock from Big Brothers Big Sisters Chicago joins us on Outreach Radio Chicago. Brad, if someone didn't really have the time to become a big, what are some of the other ways that maybe they could contribute or help your organization?
Absolutely, yeah. We have volunteers and supporters of every range. As you can imagine, these relationships, the amount of background checks and the staff that we have to monitor and make sure that the safety and security of these matches are important, it costs money. Our staff is not volunteered. We need to pay salaries, and we have it's kind of hard to really kind of put it quantitatively into the financial things, but donations, supporting our different events through going to bigbrothersbigsisterschicago.org. We have our Bowl for Kids' Sake events where you can join bowling teams and raise money that way. We have board member opportunities, and even for young professionals, we have a leadership board where you can be a part of the board and help us fundraise and recruit more mentors. We have actually an event coming up. It's our 5th annual Big Bash, sponsored by Ulta Beauty, and it is going to be at Harold Washington Library on November 12th, and those tickets can be found again on bigbrothersbigsisterschicago.org. So being an advocate, donating your time, donating your money, really finding ways to support. There are many different opportunities to help us, fight the crime and the overall problems that we face in Chicago with our youth.
Yeah, it's definitely something where it fosters that positive impact. But I think the most important question is, what would someone need to do to have their child or maybe their niece or nephew become a little?
Yeah, same thing. Go into our website. We have an inquiry page where you can learn more about enrolling a child. It's the third tab on the site. And again, Cook, Lake, DuPage County, and Lake County, Indiana are all our service areas. So if those children live in those areas and a aunt, uncle, parent thinks that their child needs to be a part of the program, please feel look up our information and try to enroll your child. I always like to say, and we say as an organization, this is preventative medicine for the at-risk youth in Chicago. It's the middle-of-the-road kids that may be struggling educationally. They may be struggling with those peer-to-peer relationships. The neighborhood or community that they live in is a struggle. People see the graduation rates within the CPS school system and realize that there are kids in the middle of the road that just taper off, and it's because they don't have those role models. So trying to catch them before they drop out of high school is so critical to what we do. And there's so many. When we go into these schools, all the the counselors and administrators always say thank you. There's nothing for the middle of the road kid. Stuff for the children at the bottom 5% that don't come to class, and there's kids for the top 5 that are on their way to an Ivy League school. But those middle of the road children that are in Englewood and Austin and Humboldt Park, there's very few programs for them. So this is why Big Brothers Big Sisters and these mentoring programs are so important.
And you see like the results too, the statistics, 100% of seniors graduated high school out of the littles that went through the program. 74% reported doing better in school because of their big. 52% were less likely to skip school when compared to a child that was not involved with the program. So you really do see the benefits of it. But what makes Big Brothers Big Sisters different from other mentoring organizations?
Yeah, I would say the gold standard that we have when you ever look at government grants or whenever people are talking about mentoring as a whole, President Obama has a big mentoring platform, but all of the verbiage is based around Big Brothers Big Sisters. And that 100-plus-year-old model that we've had as a national organization is a testament to what we do and our success rate. The other thing I would say, especially with Big Brothers Big Sisters Metro Chicago, is how innovative we are. We are always looking for new research, new outcomes, new metrics, and trying to serve youth and find mentors for these kids. One of the other things that your listeners can do is that maybe they can't become a mentor, but they think this is a great opportunity and they work at a large company with a large headcount. Our most successful programs are our workplace mentoring programs. This is where we're actually matching schools and busing youth into a corporate workplace. And twice a month at a set time and day, we are putting on mentoring sessions at the corporate work site. And that's special to me because you're able to take these kids, many of them who have never even been in the loop, to a downtown office, and they get to experience a corporate work environment. This is a program that started in 2007. We started with 3. We now have over 40, and we've now even started an e-mentoring program, which is able to have mentors and mentees, or those bigs and littles, be able to go on a closed online platform and have a mentoring relationship online. So always trying to be innovative, always trying to find those new ways to engage and to serve more youth. I think that's what makes our mentoring program very special and innovative.
That's amazing. I didn't realize that Big Brothers Big Sisters was actually having some of these kids come out and see like what it looks like to work, in the workplace, kind of like an occupational education of sorts. And that's more than what you see happening in some schools sometimes, in that, some of these kids have never been to downtown Chicago in the Loop, and to see that and to really experience the city like most people that don't live in the city get to experience. Have you had any sort of feedback or testimonials from past Bigs or Littles where you saw maybe a significant impact in their lives? And do you have any stories that you could share just off the top of your head?
Oh, absolutely. At our graduation ceremony, I am now recommending that we put Kleenex boxes in every aisle, because it's a tear fest when you hear some of the stories. But one of my favorites was our scholarship award winner 2 years ago. Her story was she was in a program in the suburban program with a Motorola. Motorola Solutions was the corporate partner, and into her sophomore, junior year, she was almost kicked out of her home, having a really tough time communicating with her mother, and was about to drop out. And it was her big sister that convinced her to stay in her home, worked through our organization with the family, and ended up graduating and is now at Carthage College, going into pre-law, and is ready to be on the path to law school, wants to be an attorney. And her story of how her big sister really helped her, and if it wasn't for her big sister, she would have dropped out, and who knows what would have happened. We love to talk about the fun things and the fun events that you get to do, but at the end of the day, there are so many powerful stories that make you tear up and make you realize how important this program is, and how important just these volunteers are. They are not professional social workers. They are just regular people working in corporate America. They're working blue-collar jobs, white-collar jobs. They want to help, and they see what's going on within the city and within the suburbs as well. I think a lot of times we think that the suburban Chicago doesn't have any problems, and there are more and more problems happening in DuPage and Lake County and on the outskirts of Cook County that get really ignored because of the headlines downtown. So it's always powerful to hear those stories, and there's so many great ones about littles that then become big brothers or big sisters themselves. It's the perfect cycle where they have seen the success of what it took, to be a mentor, and wanted to do that for and be a mentor for another child. So, it's easy to come to work every day when you've got stories like that.
And that's kind of what it's all about, where, you have that positive impact, and it's almost like a two-way street where the big influences the little, and maybe even the little can influence the big and bring out some positive impact in their lives. And that's just amazing. You're talking about matching up two complete strangers, and it's just this life-changing sort of an event. And in a city that's suffering from right now a lack of funding and education for after-school programs, and you mentioned just kind of some of the violence and the headlines and the crimes that you hear in the city, some of the misguided youth and some of the things that are happening with some of these kids on the streets. How important is it to have mentoring programs such as Big Brothers Big Sisters doing the work that you're doing to help foster that positive impact in a city that's really going through some tough times?
No, Paul, it's crucial. I mean, when you think about it, in a child that lives in Englewood or Woodlawn, that child probably doesn't go out and ride bikes like maybe the average suburban kid would. They are stuck in their house playing video games. There's not a lot of healthy opportunities in grocery stores around them, so they're eating junk food. They don't have the opportunity to see the outside world. Having a big brother or big sister, being able to take them out of that community, being able to show them Navy Pier, the Field Museum, Museum of Science and Industry, take them to a baseball game, really have conversations outside of the neighborhood and showing them a different opportunity. And in those workplace mentoring programs, to show them the corporate work environment, see what it is to, the dress attire and the way that you conduct yourself in an office, and maybe a future opportunity of becoming an intern after high school and in the college years. These are soft skills that I think the average, even middle school, high school student doesn't get. And to give these low-income youth, these at-risk youth, these opportunities is so crucial. And it's tough. It's tough when you watch the news or you read stories every day about children being shot in the crossfire, and just the continual problems. And it seems like there's no solution in sight. As a big, there is a solution for that one child, and I think that's what so many people get hung up on. It's thinking, how can I fix everything? And that's not the point. It's how can you help and support that one child? And if we can get 10 people to be matched with 10 children, those 10 children's lives are completely changed. And if they tell 10 of their friends, it's this trickle-down effect of what can happen in the city. Being a lifelong Chicagoan, I have so much pride, but also know the problems and the problems that we face continually. But I know we can fix it if more people just get involved and just take that first step into finding an organization that works for them and ways that they can help the youth of Chicago and the surrounding suburbs.
I'm talking with Brad Whitlock, the manager of corporate and foundation relations. Brad, before you go, just one more time, where can people go to find more information about Big Brothers Big Sisters Chicago, and tell us a little bit more about that big bash on November 12th and how people can get involved with that?
Absolutely. So if interested in donating, becoming a volunteer, enrolling a child, finding out just about what we do, please go to bigbrothersbigsisterschicago.org. Again, you can Google us, Big Brothers Big Sisters Chicago. That'll help you find all the information about what we're doing within the city. And our Big Bash event is happening again November 12th. It is happening at the Harold Washington Library. We have always great music. It's one of those. It's at 400 South State. Single tickets right now are $100. For couples, it's $190, and the early bird pricing ends on October 12th. So we do a 4-hour open bar, heavy appetizers. There's live music, a silent auction, and it's cocktail attire. But that's a fun one for the young professionals out there to come and experience. We had it at Harold Washington last year, and the venue's gorgeous up on the top floor. So a lot of fun for that. But again, if you've ever thought about becoming a big brother, big sister, just take that step. Just find out the process that it takes to get into. I can attest that it is the best decision I ever made. And you mentioned that, Paul, that the impact on the child is so crucial, but the mentor gets almost the same level of impact when you really get to see how your little brother or little sister progresses and changes over time. It's a special memory and a special experience for our mentors.
Well, thank you so much, Brad, for coming on to Outreach Radio Chicago. Don't be a stranger to the program, and let us know if there's anything we can do to help promote what you guys are doing over there.
Absolutely. Glad to come back whenever.
All right. That's Brad Whitlock, the manager of corporate and foundation relations for Big Brothers Big Sisters Chicago. For more information, go to bigbrothersbigsisterschicago.org. That'll do it for this edition of Outreach Radio Chicago. I'm Paul Chivari. You can follow me on Twitter at Paul Chivari, PaulChivari. You could also listen to past episodes on YouTube at youtube.com/Mike Mercado 2333, and also see some of our work at mercadoairwaves.wordpress.com.